Right now, right now. 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 Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We gotta add a little addendum to the show map today, so we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the Vietnam War. The government has been getting bigger. Hey guys, what's going on? Jep here, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about the major crash that Bitcoin has witnessed over the last 48 hours ever since the Federal Reserve meeting on Wednesday. As you know, we have seen a major drop on Bitcoin back down to levels that we haven't seen since 2 weeks ago. I mean, come on, guys. Really, are we that freaked out about this? Guys, we're going to back up and we're actually going to do some technical analysis on Bitcoin today. We're going to talk about why the level that Bitcoin dropped down to actually makes a lot of sense. However, we're also going to be talking about why it might make a lot of sense for Bitcoin to drop lower from here. I'm not fully convinced that the bottom is in. It's possible that it is. It's very difficult to tell. Ultimately, Bitcoin's been trading sideways for the last 8 months. So, I mean, it's very difficult to figure out when Bitcoin's going to break out of that trend until we have something concrete to go off of. So today we're going to be looking at the fib levels. We're going to do some overall analysis on the strength of the bulls and the bears and do our very best to come up with some perspective on where things are going. But the thing that I can tell you is that by the end of this stream, you are going to walk away with a concrete plan for what you should be doing right now to prepare yourself to build wealth in the cryptocurrency market. Because ultimately, whether we know which direction the market is going or not actually doesn't matter. What matters is us being prepared for both scenarios and taking proper measures when the market shows us what to do. We have been calling for Bitcoin to drop down to $94,000 to $100,000. We've had a lot of pushback on that ever since we made that call on, I believe it was October the 11th. It's been 20 days, 21 days almost since we made that call, and we've never backed down from it. We said that Bitcoin would need to break through 116 to 118,000 for us to be invalidated on that position and believe that Bitcoin's going back to all-time high. We have not let go of that prediction, and right now it kind of looks like that's going to happen. So today we're going to be talking about all of that and more. That said, I do want to point out that the last time the Federal Reserve met was right here, and we had a big crash, and everybody was doom and gloom. Oh my goodness, Bitcoin's dead, and then Bitcoin ran off and made a new all-time high. So let us not be surprised if Bitcoin does this number and just goes vertical in the month of November. That would make absolutely no sense, and for that reason, that would make total sense. Welcome to the Coffee and Crypto live stream. I'm very excited for you to be here today. Victor Lopez is in chat. Vintage Excellence is in chat. Crypto Surge is in chat. Joe Logan is in chat. Bull is in chat. Curtis Tape is in chat. Coin Operator, Ben Coplin, Falco, Code and Ken, Bobby, Amos, TXT. Good to see all of you. I really appreciate you guys being here today. Very, very, very much appreciate you guys being here today. Let's get started. We've got a lot to cover. So we need to zoom out. I want to look at the whole bull market as a whole just to get started. There's a couple of pieces of data, pieces of technical analysis that we need to go over. First thing is first. That would be the fact that, I suppose it's an opinion, but the opinion that Bitcoin has been in a Elliott impulse wave to the upside all bull market. And we're in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If that's the case, then Bitcoin at some point needs to have an A, B, C correction before starting a new 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pattern. In other words, we've been calling for a type of a bear market, down to 94 to 100,000. But this is not at all what I believe is going to send Bitcoin down to like $30,000 or $40,000, as some people are saying. I have gone on record and said I believe that Bitcoin will never trade below $40,000 ever again. I'm also inclined to say it'll never trade below $50,000 again, but it's a little bit too early to tell on that. What I will say is that we right now are witnessing a correction, and it could go lower, and it would make sense considering we have, again, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Elliott impulse wave to the upside. So let's kind of analyze what that ABC correction could look like. It's very interesting because when you see an ABC correction, oftentimes what happens is you see the market rally up to the 0.618, which is exactly what we said would probably happen. We talked about for a long time down here, we've got a lot of fudders that are, we talked about for a long time down here how Bitcoin would probably rally up to about 116 to 118. We said that Bitcoin would most likely rally back to this level. And then from there, I don't know whether we're going to break it or not. Looks like we've rejected off of it. But we had an invalidation point on our $94,000 to $100,000 price prediction. And that invalidation zone sits right here between 116 and 118. Bitcoin so far has rejected off of that, leading through the Fed, which honestly is not surprising. We've seen Bitcoin fall just because Jerome Powell comes up on stage and says, "Good afternoon." He said, "Good afternoon." Obviously, that means that we need to sell our Bitcoin, right? Obviously, guys, it's time to sell the Bitcoin. And so Bitcoin ends up selling off. It sold off going into the Fed meeting. And I was thinking, honestly, if it sells off going into the Fed meeting, maybe it'll rally. But nope. We saw a confirmation of the end of QT. We saw quite a bit of very forced language about how we should not price in a December rate cut. He even would look down at his notes when he was saying that. So it was obviously something that he had walked out on stage, put it in his notes, make sure to say, do not price in a December rate cut. So the meeting was not quite as dovish as we had have expected on the rate cut side of things. But honestly, for those of you that were listening, it was more dovish on the side of the quantitative tightening, because now we're not looking at QT ending next year. We're seeing QT ending very soon. We've talked about this for over a month on the channel. Quantitative tightening is ending. On top of that, the proceeds are going to be reinvested into T-bills, which means that there's going to be liquidity pumped into the government. So that's one thing. You also see their repo facilities are imploding upon themselves right now. I can do more content about that a little bit later. We don't have a lot of time right now. But overall, we have a lot of confidence that QT is ending on December the 1st, because that's what was stated. But also, we have a great deal of confidence that we are going to end up seeing quantitative easing start in 2026, which is exactly what we've been saying. On top of that, and this is encouraging. This is one of the ways that I could possibly be wrong here about Bitcoin dropping down to 94 to 100K. If we don't drop down to 94 to 100K, that's fine. We've been accumulating the whole time. That's fine with me. I don't mind. Bitcoin had this downtrend that we rallied up to and tested. It was based on these levels down here, and over the last couple of days, we ended up dropping down here and back testing it yesterday at about 3 p.m. down at 106,000. So let's continue to look at some other longer term data points. As we've talked about, we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Elliott impulse wave with a possible ABC correction. Let's just kind of flesh that theory out. If we are looking at an ABC correction, it's very obvious where the A wave is. It'd be right here. The B wave is here, which leaves us with the C wave here. I don't believe that this is a new crash, a new bear market, excuse me. I don't foresee us going down to 50 to 75,000, which would be our bear market targets. We've told you guys that if I'm wrong, because I like to give you the whole gambit of perspectives. If I'm wrong, then what happens, right? If I'm wrong on my prediction that Bitcoin bottoms and bounces between 94 and 100K, what happens? Well, then we would probably see a bear market bottom sometime between Q2 and Q4 of next year, between $50,000 and $75,000. I don't think you're going to see an 80 to 90% correction like some people are calling for on Twitter. That's just a load of FUD. You would be, absolute maximum see a 70% drop, but even then, probably not that significant. Probably a 60% drop down to the Fibonacci. But anyway, now we got to see where this C wave goes. Does this C wave only drop down to here? I don't know about that. However, if the C wave does drop farther, then the way that you would pull a price target on it is you pull a trend-based fib extension right here, and wouldn't you know it, our trend-based fib extension 1.5 and 1.618 sits down at $90,000 and $92,000, which is right there on the long-term bull market support uptrend. Now that we've looked at the Elliott impulse wave of the overall market, let's also look at the uptrend. This uptrend right here is what Bitcoin keeps testing. This is why Bitcoin keeps coming back down here, and it is very, very steep. This uptrend is exactly what we've been bouncing off of. As you can see, it is the exact uptrend that Bitcoin bounced off of both of these last two times. And so what Bitcoin is actually doing is it's using this very long-term uptrending level of support and this flat level of 116, and we're actually building an ascending triangle pattern that we fell into, which would lead me to the conclusion that possibly we're seeing an inverse head and shoulders pattern here that could bounce off of this downtrend, giving you a price target that looks something like this, all the way up to $130,000. If I'm wrong about us going to 94 to 100,000, This is what me being wrong will look like. This is one of the reasons I want you to watch our channel, because I'm going to tell you, hey, this is what I think, but if I'm wrong, this is what you should also think. This is what you should also look for. This is what you should also do, not what you should think. I'm never going to tell you what to think, but these are the perspectives that you may want to consider. If I'm wrong about Bitcoin dropping down to 94 to 100K, it's probably because we completed an underside overside test of this downtrend, and Bitcoin is bouncing. And if it bounces, it forms an inverse head and shoulders pattern. That inverse head and shoulders pattern points us up towards $130,000. And as we know, that will be a pretty significant uptrend right now. On the other hand, if Bitcoin starts breaking beneath this uptrending level of support right here, this uptrending level of support right there, if we fall over, right? If Bitcoin does not build momentum here, we're not able to actually build momentum here. And it's nice because we do have a downtrend, overside, underside test to the upside. But the issue is down here on like the 15-minute chart, it's really stagnant. We do have our overside, underside test, but look at how Bitcoin's rounding here. If you pull a Fibonacci here, you're going to see that Bitcoin is rejecting right here at the 0.382. Not a good look. By the way, speaking about rejecting at Fibonacci levels, that's not a good look. Take a look at how far we've retraced back down into this Fibonacci. We dropped back down to the 0.786 at $106,000. That's really sketchy. Typically, when a market breaks through the 0.618, that means that you're going to break all the way through the 0 or all the way through the 1, and you're going to go into trend-based fib extension rather than trend-based fib retracement, right? Recovery. And so here's the best I got for you. Our overall prediction is 94 to 100K. That will be significantly more so confirmed if we break below this uptrend. Right now, we're tentatively leaning in that direction. If we fall back down to this level and break below it, that's probably where we're going. And I'm inclined to lean in that direction. However, if this bounce actually materializes and sends us back up to 116, that is where you would probably see a test of 116. If you test it and break it, then you're likely to head back to all-time high. So let's make these predictions very simple. Our overall prediction, 94 to 100K this year. Below uptrend, 94 to 100K confidently. And then over 116K to 118K. to $130,000. And by the way, the reason I say $130,000, people are like, Jib, you said $130,000 the other month. Yeah, we got close. And remember, I tell you when we're wrong. I tell you when we get our predictions wrong, and I tell you what I'm learning. Because listen, I've been doing this for 8 years. I don't know everything. Some of you have been doing this longer than me. You don't know everything. Everybody on Twitter doesn't know everything. They think they do. Here's what we realized is that Bitcoin was really having a hard time getting through this uptrending level of resistance. This is what we should have used to make our call for the 130 all-time high. We should have used this uptrend and said that Bitcoin was going to rally up to this uptrend. That's what we should have done, because Bitcoin's done it over and over and over again. This time, however, if Bitcoin does rally up here, naturally it is an uptrend, right? So by the time we get there, you're going to be looking at the uptrend sitting at about $129,000 to $130,000. So let's just make sure we're as specific as possible, I suppose. If we end up breaking up here, we're going to look at 129K to 130K. That would be our prediction. So as you can see, if we have 3 different scenarios based on the current price level of Bitcoin, then what you'll see is that Bitcoin, while it sits in this ascending triangle pattern, is in basically a decision. It's in a decision point. We don't have a lot of clarity about which direction it's going to go because Bitcoin is just chopping sideways. And one thing that we can get caught up on, and this is something that I'm learning in this market, as you guys know, like I said, I'm always trying to learn more so I can be a better analyst for you guys. Something I'm learning in this market is that when the market is chopping sideways, you have to be careful about making a bunch of predictions because a lot of things just don't work. And I mean, you end up seeing stuff like this. You see this inverse head and shoulders pattern, right? We broke out to the price target. Price target was 130,000, right? Now we see a couple of head and shoulders patterns. On the one hand, we see a 4-hourly chart head and shoulders pattern that just formed, which, by the way, would give us a price target, as you can see, of $90,000, which is what we've been saying, right? But on the other hand, on the shorter term time frame, down here on the hour chart, you have an inverse head and shoulders pattern. So which is it? We really just don't know yet. We need the market to give us some kind of confirmation. So what I'm learning is sometimes we got to stop telling what the market's going to do before the market tells us what it's going to do. We as technical analysts can do our best to be prescriptive and say this is what we believe the market is going to do. But ultimately, we have to also be humble enough to say at the end of the day, I don't know what the market's going to do. I can't promise that to you. And that's not my job. And so we've got to set up fair expectations with ourselves where we are not saying that our standard of success is getting every call right. And I know that sounds weird, but let me explain. Our standard of a success is that we make money, right? I don't care what your IQ is. I care whether or not you got what you wanted out of life. I care whether or not your actions match up with your values, right? Okay, so we can get calls wrong and still make money. We've established that. So the question then becomes, how do we make money even when we're wrong? Well, the way we make money even when we're wrong is we are prepared to say, hey, I was wrong and I have a plan for what happens if I'm wrong. So here are my plans in all three of these scenarios. If Bitcoin proves me wrong and we never see 94 to 100K again, that's fine, because you know what I've been doing? I've been buying down here around 106 to 110. I've been lowering my average cost basis on short-term holdings. Now, obviously, we have, I've got holdings from $3,000. Our overall average cost basis is like, I don't know, probably $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 on Bitcoin. But anyway, we've been dropping our, over the last 8-10 months worth of acquisition, dropping our average cost basis a little bit. Basically, this year's acquisitions, we've dropped it a little bit, right? And so if we blast off, that's fine. I built an overall long-term portfolio, and so I'm good. If Bitcoin goes up and proves any kind of bearish prediction that I have wrong, that's fine. But if Bitcoin goes down, here's what I do. I have built durable income streams, and I have savings. And so if Bitcoin goes down, what I do is I buy more. So I put myself in a win-win position. This is how you win in markets. It's not about putting yourself in a win-lose position. A lot of people think about markets like this. Let me learn you something real quick. A lot of people put themselves in markets like this. They say, if X happens, I win. Yay. However, if Y happens, sorry, son. Lost the house. This is a stupid position to put yourself in. It's a really freaking dumb place to put yourself in. You have to put yourself in a position to succeed no matter what. So, I'm going to tell you. I'm not totally sure what Bitcoin's going to do. I'd like to see it rally. I'd like to see it crash. I don't really care. But what I know is that if it goes up, here's what happens. If Bitcoin goes up, because I have long-term conviction, if Bitcoin goes up, if BTC goes up, my USD net worth goes up. If BTC goes down, my BTC net worth goes up from buying. I win in either direction. And you need to set yourself up in a position that you win in either direction. This is for investment. Now, on trading, that's where it gets a little bit different. We need to look at different technical analysis. And strictly speaking, we would say, I wish I was looking at this earlier because I definitely would have seen this. This was at 4 a.m. That's why we didn't see this. But this is a classic overside underside test. So generally speaking, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bet on my technical analysis because that's what I need to do. And I'm going to say if we were back in time, we would have put a long entry right here. We would have, let's look at our fibs to figure out where we could have set this up. We would have probably maybe put that right there. And then you have your exit, and we're going to say that that exit is going to be up at the 0.618 probably. That would give us a solid risk-to-reward ratio. Let's see how that works. 3.75. So yes, if I were trading this market, if I was awake at 4 a.m., this is exactly what I would have done because this is a classic overside underside test. In fact, on top of that, it's funnily enough, it's an AB, it's a 3.5A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This absolutely meets the criterion for a Elliott wave movement. We have a 1, 2, 3 movement. Very tiny little B wave, which is why this is a little bit confusing, but now Bitcoin's blasting off, right? So what you would do is you would take an entry at the bottom of that B wave right there. So we would have had an entry position right here. If I had if this was, if this wasn't happening in the middle of the night while I was asleep, right? Actually, I was awake at 4 a.m. with the newborn. So I guess I was awake. I just wasn't at my chart. I was trying to get the baby to go back to sleep. This is the kind of trade that we would be taking. And so that's where we kind of have to stick to our guns. We have to bet on the technical analysis. At this point, also, another thing I would say here on the minute chart, let's come down here to the 1 minute chart. Yeah. The other thing I would say is once you have past probably this level right here, that's when we would pull our stop loss down to break even. These are the kind of things you can do when you're trading, right? Very simple, right? You're just betting on the technical analysis playing out. Because Bitcoin, even on the hourly chart, if you look at it, got very overextended. Have bullish RSI div down here. MACD cross bullish, overall looking solid, broke that downtrend. So yeah, that's the kind of day trade that we'd be looking at taking. We would end up moving this stop loss up to break even. If Bitcoin broke through, for example, if it broke through the 0.5 right here, we would probably move our stop loss up towards, sorry, that's the exit. Let's move our stop. We'd probably move the stop. It won't let me move the stop up. Okay, it won't let me do that on TradingView, but you would move the stop up. You'd probably move the stop loss up here to like 110, which would be intake profit, right? So yeah, that's how you'd go about trading that. Optimize the entries, optimize the exits, all of that. Cool. Well, hey, guys, I do want to let you know real quick that today's stream is brought to you in part by a company that you're definitely going to want to hear about. None other than iTrust Capital. If you have not signed up for iTrust Capital, I'm going to give you a good reason why you should. If I don't give you a good reason why you should, you can just skip the rest of this. But I'm going to tell you really quickly one good reason. Can you track with me here? If I give you one good reason why you should sign up for iTrust Capital, will you humor me for 30 seconds to explain to you how to do it and why you should do it? Here's the number one reason you should sign up for iTrust Capital. Because iTrust Capital is going to save you on taxes. I don't know about you. Give me a 1 in chat if you don't like paying taxes. I don't like paying taxes. I'm not a big fan of paying taxes. The government sucks managing our money. They're absolutely awful at it. I am not a fan of paying taxes. I love helping people, but I'm not a fan of paying taxes. iTrust Capital is going to combine the best of two different worlds. It's going to combine the best of crypto, which, as we know, is a fantastic industry. And it's going to combine the best forms of long-term retirement accounts, which would be traditional and IRAs. If you invest with iTrust Capital by going to itrustcapital.com/CryptoJeb, you are going to be able to sign up and get access to Roth IRAs and traditional IRAs and even other retirement account products such as SEP IRAs, a self-employed IRA, right? You can roll over your 401k. All kinds of different ways that you can invest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency through iTrust Capital in tax-advantaged ways. So let me put it like this. Let's take a traditional account, a traditional IRA, for example. Let's say you made $100,000, and we're just going to exclude all other deductions. If you make $100,000, then you have to pay taxes on $100,000. Now, you've got the standard deduction and all this other stuff, but let's just say you have to pay taxes on $100,000. You can either take the $100,000. Let's say you have an extra $100,000, actually. Let's say you have an extra $100,000 that you could invest. You can take the $100,000 and you have to pay taxes on every single penny of that at your whatever the effective tax rate is. So you pay $100,000 of taxes on, you pay taxes on the $100,000, then you invest it. After that, maybe you have $78,000 to $82,000 left over, whatever the number is based on your effective tax rate. If you invest it through a traditional IRA, instead of paying taxes on $100,000, you only have to pay taxes on $93,000. You say that because you don't have to pay taxes on the money that you invested in the IRA, in the traditional IRA, because it's a deduction. You get to deduct it against your taxable income, which means you don't pay taxes on the money that you put into the traditional IRA until you withdraw it, and you withdraw it at your income tax rate in retirement after the Bitcoin has grown. So you let the Bitcoin grow and you let it get taxed 30 years from now when it's already worth several $1 million, right? With a Roth IRA, you do pay taxes now, but in retirement, you don't have to pay taxes. It's a very powerful system. And if you're not utilizing retirement accounts, you're making a big mistake. You see a lot of people out here like, the Grant Cardones of the world, everything. I have a lot of respect for Grant. I love him. I've watched his stuff for years. Man, I was watching his stuff a decade ago. But this is something that people are wrong about. It's something that we need to understand. It's important to max out these accounts. because you ought to be putting something aside and saying, I am not going to touch this for 30 years, and I'm going to save taxes on it. Now, I am all for doing a bunch of other kinds of investment, but why not max out your traditional or your Roth IRA every single year and pay less money in taxes? I just don't understand why you wouldn't do that. So make sure you sign up for iTrust Capital with the link in the description box down below. All right. Crashes happen after extreme upside volatility. We haven't had that yet. Yep. I will say this is not the way that the top of a bull market feels. I've been through 2 bull market tops. This is nothing like the way that they normally feel. Now, of course, things can change, but I really don't think they're going to. And part of the reason I don't think they're going to is because I don't think you're going to have these massive blow-off tops anymore. So I don't think the tops of bull markets are going to feel the same way that they used to. But at the same time, if we're going to take that into account, we also need to take into account the idea that if the Bitcoin bull markets are not going to be as massive, like 20 and 100x as they used to be, then we're probably also not going to see 74, 75, 77% drops anymore. As I've said, our bear market low prediction would be basically one giant A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down to like 50 to 75,000. And just doing a sniff test on that, does that make sense? Yeah, it does. It makes sense, right? We've got a bunch of different reasons. I'm not going to go into all of them right now. But we have a ton of different reasons why we say that if Bitcoin, I mean, there's a lot of analysis we've done on this. You guys that watch the channel will know. We've done a lot of analysis on why the bear market bottom, should a bear market even happen in the first place, would probably be somewhere around right here. And again, just do the sniff test. Does that look feasible? Now, it's feasible. We just keep going from here. But does that look feasible? Yeah. In fact, if you look over at Plan C, big shout out to Plan C. Let's go look at Plan C. Go look at Plan C on the quantile model. I love the quantile model. Big fan of this. Big shout out to Plan C. Guys, let him know I sent you guys over here. Go follow him on X. He's got the quantile model update. The bottom of the quantile model for 2025 is approximately $50,000 to $55,000. We came up with $50,000 on our own, but it's very interesting how much it matches here with what he's saying. So Bitcoin's just kind of chugging right along. Everybody's so worried Bitcoin's about to explode or Bitcoin's about to crash. What if Bitcoin just trades sideways for the next year? What if Bitcoin does nothing interesting for the next 2 years? Could you take that? Is your life interesting enough that you're still going to have something to do with yourself if that's what happens? Right? Or is your life completely caught up in Bitcoin? Like, can you take it if Bitcoin is on a curve that looks something like this? You see? Can you take it if Bitcoin's on a curve that looks something like this? And we just kind of bounce around on this curve for the next like 4 years, up towards $300,000 by the end of the year. Sorry, $300,000 by the end of the decade. Could you take that? I could take that. I'd be fine with that. I'm good with that. I'm invested. I'm exactly 0% closer to selling than I was a year ago. Nothing. So, worst case scenario, Bitcoin bear market to $50,000 to $75,000 by the end of the next year. By the way, I do have a lot of contacts in the industry, and what a lot of the exchanges are preparing for, what a lot of different companies are preparing for, is a mild bear market in Q1 and Q2. By mild, I mean probably 20 to 40%. They're expecting it to be half as deep and half as long. A lot of people say, Jeb, you're saying the 4-year halving cycle is dead. Oh, it's not just me. This is what all the exchanges think, too. We talk to them all the time. This is what they think. This is what they're preparing for. Is Bitcoin could just be boring for the next 5 to 6 months. You know what I say to that? Awesome! You know what I get to do when Bitcoin's boring? I get to work on the company. I get to build systems. I get to create new forms of content. I get to create courses to teach you guys more things. There's so much to do. So what? Who cares? We're all in such a giant hurry to get rich. There's more to getting rich than just Bitcoin going to $1 million. There's your health. There's your family. There's your skills. You can learn to trade. You can be better at work, get a promotion, make more money. You can go start a business. By the love of God, start a business. I mean, come on. You can learn to be better at financial management. You can meet Jesus. I mean, there's so many areas that you can grow in life while Bitcoin's sitting here being boring. So what? Really? I mean, look at the long term on Bitcoin. This is the long term on Bitcoin. We're whining and complaining about this little pale blue dot. Who will get that reference? The pale blue dot of what we're looking at right now. Big freaking whoop. Okay, so Bitcoin drops down to 92 and then rallies up to 150. If Bitcoin drops down to 92 and rallies up to 150, that's what that movement looks like. Give it time. Give it time. Just chill. Give it time. It's going to be fine. We've got so much doom and gloom in the market. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Bitcoin is still the best performing asset of the last decade. Basically, bar none. Incredible adoption ahead. And by the way, do you really think that the Trump administration, who keep going out on a limb and saying, buy Bitcoin because it's going to go up, are not going to manipulate the market to do that? Seriously? I mean, come on. So our prediction is worst case scenario right now, Bitcoin drops down to 94 to 100. But honestly, there's a very strong chance that Bitcoin just bottomed on that longer term uptrend right here. And it's going to bounce. We'll see. But I'll tell you what's going to happen. People that are not careful with their leverage trades are going to get wrecked. We went long before the Fed meeting. I was really curious. I was like, I wonder if Fed meeting will cause us to rally. Do a little experiment. Put just a tiny little bit on the line. I did not get wrecked in that trade. I was wrong. Yeah, we got stopped out. That's true. Didn't get wrecked. That's okay. In fact, we were close to break even because we re-entered low and caught the upswing and caught the swing up. So we ended up somewhat close to break even. It's just we've got to stop. We just got to stop with all the fear. Guys, by the way, one thing you should be afraid of, if you're not ready for it, is what happens if your house catches on fire and your seed phrases catch on fire and burn and all your Bitcoin's gone? Do you have them memorized? Do you? Really? I mean, do you? What would happen if your seed phrase is caught on fire? You're screwed. That's what you are. Check out Stampseed. Sign up for Stampseed. Stamp them into titanium. Fireproof your Bitcoin. Can't go wrong with that. Sailor said 250K by EOY 6 months ago. 250K by the end of the year was always too aggressive. Really appreciate all you guys being here. Hey, by the way, if you haven't already, also make sure to sign up for 2bit, because 2bit is also going to allow you to get into the Discord server. If you sign up for 2bit and deposit $100, then you will be able to get into the Discord server for free. And there's also a promotion going on right now. If you click this, you can see that there's like $500,000 in rewards going on right now for the next 10 days. So make sure to check this out. A lot of things you can do over here for referrals and whatnot. So make sure to check out 2bit. If you sign up for 2bit, deposit $100, you're going to be able to get access to our very own Discord server where you get access to our videos way before they go live to the public. Generally, they come out about 2 to 3 hours earlier in the Discord server than they do in public. All right. Really appreciate all you guys being here. I'm going to have to wrap it out because we are working on our homeschool. So I don't know if I told you guys, but we have made the decision prayerfully. We've thought about it for years at this point. We've decided that we're going to be homeschooling our children. So part of the reason that there wasn't a stream and a video yesterday, we're going to be making that up tomorrow. So stay tuned. We're going to be doing a stream and video tomorrow. Is because I am currently working as hard as I can to get the kids' homeschool set up. We're going to homeschool our kids. Very excited about that journey. We feel very confident and convicted that that's what the Lord wants us to do. My wife is over the moon excited about it. It was her idea. She's thrilled. She's a great teacher. Really excited for it. So obviously got a little bit going on there. Luckily, Bitcoin's kind of being boring right now, so we're not missing a whole lot. But very, very excited about that. Sarah's going to be homeschooling, which means I'm going to have to switch up my office again. But luckily, I'm going to be getting more space. So hopefully I will be able to get a cool studio set up here in the next few months. I'm not going to rush into it, but here in the next few months. So very excited about that. Very excited that we are going to be the primary teachers of our children. We have a great relationship with the private school they go to. We just felt like it was time for us to go ahead and homeschool them. We want a bunch of kids. Bottom line, I mean, I'd love to have 10 kids. I love it. I love it. I love my children. I spend so much time with them. I think they're great. I want them closer. So very excited for that. Yeah. So going to go and work on that. If I'm a little bit distracted for the rest of the day, that will be why. So if you don't see a ton of posts on X or anything, I'm trying to wrap up everything today. I'm setting up their room, moving the kids' bedroom, so a lot going on, but I expect I'll be done today or tomorrow. So back on Monday, should be back, back to all of our regularly scheduled content on time, full length, all of that. Shouldn't take much longer for me to set up. After I move all the furniture around, then Sarah's going to do the rest of it. So really appreciate you guys being here. Like I said, got a split. Look forward to seeing you guys in the next piece of content. And again, biggest lesson I can give you today, make sure that you succeed no matter what the market does. If you succeed no matter what the market does, then it doesn't matter what the market does because you're going to succeed either way. It really is that simple. Appreciate you all being here. I love you. Before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.